When you add all of this up together, it is the greatest political offense against the Union by a president of the United States in our history. Nothing comes close to it. A
criminal offense.
The attempt to overthrow the result of a presidential election through a political coup and the mobilization of an armed violent mob cannot really be compared to anything else a president has done. It makes the Watergate break-in look like the work of Cub Scouts. I just hope that we're telling everything we know in a competent and effective way to the American people, because, Madison said that in a democracy, the people have the right to the most awful truth, which is the truth about the nature of government and their rulers. And we need Americans to look very carefully at what.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Let's get right into this January 6th footage that was just released by Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. We're going to watch this news segment from Carl Higbie from Newsmax. He's going to show some of the newly released January 6th video footage, and then we're going to talk about it here at the end after the clip.
All right. Speaker Mike Johnson just moved up a notch in my book, releasing all, or at least in the process of releasing all, the Capitol tapes from January 6th. And it turns out that January 6th wasn't worse than 9/11. It wasn't worse than Pearl Harbor.
Dates that occupy not only a place on our calendars, but a place in our collective memory. December 7th, 1941, September 11th, 2001, and January 6th, 2021.
So that's actually not true. It's not even close, actually. It wasn't a violent insurrection, and it looks like there was more and more cattywampus afoot than partisan, morally bankrupt January 6th committee led us to believe.
Well, we go undercover as Antifa in a crowd, so can you put that back in? All right, thank you so much. Yep. It feels better. Did you guys get sprayed?
Well, also, here is one of the people arrested at the Capitol that apparently wasn't actually being arrested. They walked him to the door very nicely, took the cuffs off, fist bumped him, and let him go on his merry way. You know what's interesting, though, about that last exchange with him? Normally, when somebody is arrested, the first thing the cops do is they strip any face cover off the subject to identify him. Maybe take the helmet off, but they didn't do that. They left it on. Why? I got a few guesses myself. And we also still don't know how many people were undercover and why. It even appears that the FBI doesn't know either. Or at least they're maybe lying to us, or they just don't know. Either could be true. In fact, the chief of Capitol Police testified that he was also given no information on undercover agents and was advised not to respond to the January 6th.
We actually have evidence and records indicating plainclothes MPD officers were on Capitol grounds on January 6th. And you're saying you weren't aware that they would have embedded those officers within the crowd. They didn't make you aware of that?
No, sir, they did not make me aware of it. It's not unusual for agencies to have plainclothes units deployed around major events, but no, I was not made aware that they'd be on Capitol grounds.
Chief Sund, since January 6, 2021, have you testified or been asked to testify publicly before a committee of the House of Representatives?
No, sir.
Did the January 6 Select Committee ask you to publicly testify before their committee?
No, sir.
Weird. The chief of the Capitol Police wasn't invited to speak before the January 6th committee? They also seem to fire some sort of either tear gas or smoke into the crowd that, from the looks of the video, which seems to be a pretty peaceful group with people standing there videotaping it. This begs the question, what came first, the tear gas or the pandemonium? Did one cause the other? We'll see. But I can tell you one thing. This level of force was not used the other day against the pro-Hamas demonstrators or at the White House. It was unbelievable. So why was it used here at January 6th? The other thing we're now seeing from these videos is that it's very little confrontation with the police, if any, is shown. So far, there doesn't seem to be anything more than a respectful interaction with the fuzz, and the crowd turns around when they were asked to leave. The one spot of violence, the one spot, was Ashley Babbitt, who was the only one killed on that day, by the way, shot by the same Capitol police officer who is still employed and 2 years prior had left his gun unattended in a bathroom. Lieutenant Mike Bird. This guy fired a weapon at an unarmed woman through a door with officers directly in his line of fire right behind him. I mean, as the video goes on, it appears that both law enforcement and the protesters worked together to attempt to save her life and evacuate her. From the video, which we won't show you because of how graphic it is, but it's freely available on the internet, and I encourage you to go watch it. The only ones yelling and swearing appear to be the police officers, not the protesters. We still haven't seen the other side of the footage from behind the shooter, whether or not confirmed lethal force was even actually needed. But from my vantage point, with a significant background in use of force, by the way, doesn't seem to meet the bar. I'm sure more will be made public in the coming days, though. But the real question is, why was this never released under McCarthy? What was he hiding? What deals did he make behind the scenes? Because if it was so simple that Mike Johnson could just release it in a matter of a few weeks after taking the speakership, why didn't McCarthy do it in this 9-month tenure? You see why I never trusted him? We know the Democrats were ardently opposed to releasing the full tapes, obviously, probably for the exact same reason we're seeing now. It destroys their narrative completely. And the lengths that they went to lie, they deceived, they misled us on all the reason those tapes shouldn't be released should be carved into everyone's memory as a monument to never trusting Democrats again.
Donald Trump participated in each substantially and personally. He oversaw or directed the activity of those involved.
I want to be very clear. Those who perform these reprehensible acts cannot be called protesters. No, these were rioters and insurrectionists, goons and thugs, domestic terrorists.
On January 6th, Trump knew the crowd was angry. He knew the crowd was armed. He sent them to the Capitol anyway. You might imagine that our founders would have been shocked to learn that an American president would one day come to embrace and excuse political violence against our own institutions, or knowingly send an armed mob to attack the Capitol to usurp the will of the people.
Jamie Raskin went on to say that we can't release the tapes because it'll expose, intricate workings and the schematics of the Capitol building. Nice try, Jamie. You can go online and see a map of the Capitol. Hell, you can schedule a tour of the halls yourself. It was all a ploy to make Trump out to be the bad guy in an attempt to keep him from running for the White House again. We're seeing this in multiple states where they're trying to get him off the ballot, using it as if he was convicted. He wasn't even charged. But they conveniently always leave this part out.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
There have been more than 1,069 defendants charged. Sure, some people did some really stupid stuff that day. Not discounting that. But not 1,000 people, but some. I've reviewed as much of this video as I can since they started releasing it. And all it has done is counter the left's narrative. But the one thing that is absent right now, more than anything, is the footage and proof that there were 1,000 people attempting an insurrection. Because if there was, all these left-leaning groups would have been putting it on the front page right now, but it's not. It was very clearly not an insurrection. And from what I expect from Mike Johnson, haul every member of the January 6th committee, the FBI, the Capitol Police, everyone in front of Congress under oath and find out what they knew and when they knew it. Juxtapose every second of testimony against these tapes and get to the actual truth. Because if we don't make an example out of all the bad actors, they're going to continue to wield the power of government, who threw what is becoming increasingly apparent, innocent people in jail. And this has got to stop right now.
there you have it, guys. There you have it. After years and years of being able to control the narrative, we are finally able to come and draw our own conclusions on what happened in January 6th. And from what I see, this was the weakest insurrection that could have ever possibly happened. I mean, you've seen, it looked like a high school field trip. You had the Capitol Police walking people around, opening doors for them. This didn't look like no coup or takeover like the Democrats have been saying for the past few years or whatever. All lies. All lies. And you can tell it's all lies because it took Mike McCarthy a few months to drop these videos, whereas Mike Johnson, whereas now Mike McCarthy, he was in for what, 9 months, and we didn't get nothing from him. Well, why is that? Well, because that was one of the stipulations for him getting elected as Speaker of the House. It was a deal that he made with the Democrats not to release the footage. Because they know once the real footage came out that what they've been telling us for the, during the whole commission and investigation, all that was a bunch of nonsense and BS. Bunch of nonsense and BS. And you had Jamie Raskin, whatever his name is, talking about, well, I hope, we were able to tell people everything that we know. Well, you didn't. You did not. You did not. Either you didn't review all of the footage, or you seen what we just saw and decided not to tell the American people. So you're lying, man. These people have been lying. All these, that looked like on one of the part of the video, it looked like it was a whole staged fake arrest. Like they had the dude handcuffed and they walked him back to the back of somewhere and then uncuffed him. And then he still had the helmet on his head. And then they dapped him up like a 5-5 or they fist bumped after they took off the handcuffs. It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. It's like one of their colleagues was going undercover and like, hey man, that was good job acting, man. You did that perfect. Let me take those cuffs off of you here. Dap me up real quick. Man, oh man. Man, these Democrats are horrible. They have got to pay the price for this, man. They have got to pay the price. Look, I'm not saying, there shouldn't be people held accountable. Of course, people that were destructive, that were breaking stuff, fighting police, things like that. Cool, whatever. But it looked like 90% of those people looked like they were just there on like a guided tour of the Capitol or something. Hilarious. And during all the hearings and all that stuff, you had the Democrats calling these people goons and thugs, and they'll go ahead and categorize, things like the BLM riots as being mostly peaceful. These people are inconsistent. And then you have some of the Democrats that were saying that some of the riots that happened a couple of days ago with the protesters for the Hamas during the DNC was more violent than January 6th. But nobody's investigating that.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not.
Nobody was investigating that. Nobody was. Right? Why is that? Well, because it was a mostly leftist protest. It doesn't go against the narrative. That's not going to work this is not going to work to get Trump out of office. All of the things that they were saying about January 6th and all the Russian collusion, all that stuff was made up and created to get rid of Trump. So, man, it just finally starts to feel good to get some transparency and get some truth and light to what these politicians and especially these Democrats been hiding for us. And everybody on that January 6th commission, everybody that was, questioned at the hearings from the FBI and all that, they all need to be held accountable. There has to be some type of consequence for blatantly lying like the way they did. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let's talk about this video in the comment section. Make sure you hit the like button down below, guys. I really appreciate it if you hit the like button. And of course, you want more content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button with the notification bell so you get reminded every time I bring a brand new video. Thanks for being here, guys. See you on the next one. Peace.